Welcome to Slow News Day with Kevin Clark. I am Kevin Clark. Woo! Felt good to say that. Was expecting a little better reaction. Headlines. Things suck less than they used to. I don't have anything prepared. I'm just riffing because I'm talking about something that everybody was talking about in the NFL for the past 3 weeks. I was on the road. I visited, 14 teams, and everybody had the same message. Well, that sucked. Whether or not people in football were having as good a time as normal was pretty low on the worldwide list of concerns. But when I talk to football people, I really get a sense of how much last year weighed on their mental health, how much last year in a league that can already be lonely and isolating and tough, it was even tougher for everybody. I'm hearing stories about team meetings that are happening over speakerphone to try to replicate in-person contact. I'm hearing about guys who were high up in organizations who hadn't even met rookies because they couldn't even be in the same building at the same time. And what we have now is not normalcy, because that may not happen for a while, but what we have now is a release. There was not even probably Tom Brady, if you asked him, anyone who enjoyed last year as much as they enjoyed a normal season. Couldn't have happened. Could not have happened. And basically everybody, not Kirk Cousins, is on the track to have a more normal year for the sport of football than we had last year. And that's all anybody's asking. Here's to football, and here's to something like a normal football season. When I was in 8th grade, I got my braces off, and I went to school, and I thought everybody was going to be like, whoa, he got his braces off. And then I went through an entire day of trying to show people, and not one person noticed.
Damn.
Let's switch firms.
I get frustrated a little bit with the movie industry because when I was growing up, there was great movies all year.
All right, Kirk Herbstreit, ESPN college football legend, author of Out of the Pocket. What a cover photo, Kirk.
We did that in my house, in my basement. I can't believe it turned out like that. It turned out great.
If NIL were around when you were a quarterback, what endorsement would you seek out?
I was there in the early 90s and I drove we didn't have a lot of money. I drove a 1978 Toyota Celica. I was proud of it. I loved it, but I would have looked for a car deal that I could have been able to have a little bit more confidence as I rolled up instead of that 78 Celica.
I bet you had confidence in that Toyota Celica. I bet you had swag, Kirk. I had a Buick Rendezvous when I was 16, and the more I look back on it, the more I realized I was driving a minivan. I didn't realize it at the time. I was like, no, it's an SUV. It's fine. And I look at the car now on the road. I'm like, no, dude, I was a 16-year-old driving a minivan. Very cool. If NFL fans are circling quarterbacks in the draft in the next couple of years, where do we need to look?
Spencer Rattler's a kid that's undersized, but he's at Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley's had some success with quarterbacks, obviously, with Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. And Sam Howell at North Carolina. Another guy that I think could start building some momentum and track. JT Daniels is a little bit of a wild card. He's at Georgia. He was at USC, highly touted. And then there's a bit of a wild card, kind of like Trey Lance last year, came from North Dakota State. Malik Willis from Liberty.
Yeah.
There's some names this year that'll, by the time the draft comes around, you know how it is. Every year, people will surface, and that's who they'll be talking about.
Flip side of that, is there a quarterback that in all your years you've been completely convinced was going to be a stud at the NFL level and he just couldn't do it? What was your biggest miss?
Easy answer. Matt Leinart. I would have thought Matt Leinart coming out of USC, he decided to come back his senior year because there was a lot of talk that he was going to be the first pick overall in the draft coming out as a junior, and he decided to come back. I thought, that guy, he's made for the NFL. Yeah. He's coming out of that USC system, and I thought he would have had a monster career. He did okay, but not quite the career that I thought he would have had.
Early scouting report on Trevor Lawrence. It's interesting because Lawrence and Leinart have a little bit of the same backstory in the sense that they just played on an offense that were just NFL players all over. And I'm curious, when you're looking at that stuff, how you separate the talent and the arm talent from the supporting cast around him, specifically with Trevor Lawrence.
You got to be careful sometimes of rushing to judgment on these rookie quarterbacks. I mean, it's legendary what we know. Peyton Manning set an NFL record his rookie year with interceptions.
Yep.
Troy Aikman, I think, had 1 win his rookie year. So sometimes what you see that first year isn't necessarily indicative of what they're going to become. Trevor, he's going to a team that's had a very hard time building momentum and winning games. And so he's got a new head coach. He's got a lot of new pieces around him. There's going to be some moments when we're all going to go, oh my gosh. I mean, can you believe this kid? And there's gonna be a lot of moments when we're like, oh, first pick overall. Oh.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just normal. That's to be expected. I just hope they can build around him, build some momentum so they leave the 2021 year going, I'll tell you what, man, we got something to work with here, bring in a few more pieces, and we're going in a great direction.
The most amazing thing to me is if you go back 10 years, there was a huge separation between high school football, college football, and pro. And the defining characteristic of the last decade, Kirk, is that a play can show up at Baylor on a Saturday, and the next Sunday it can be with Washington. It can be with the Miami Dolphins. And I'm curious what you think the biggest change has been offensively at all levels of football, especially at the NFL level, where college now sets the tone where that didn't used to be the case.
Yeah, it has changed a lot. I think if you go back to the grassroots around the country, not just a region, but now it's the whole country. Now, almost every offense is a shotgun, 3 receiver, 4 receiver kind of attack. And these high school quarterbacks are running systems that allow them to go to the college game and to be able to play pretty quickly. Andy Reids of the world have said, you know what, I'm done trying to figure out how to make these guys that have never been in a huddle in high school or college. They've never had to call play because every play is either a sideline with a sign or they're holding up things. Never had to call play. And we're trying to make these guys come into our world and read all these coverages and run these sophisticated systems. Let's us evolve to their world.
Is there a QB you think of that if they were born 20, 30 years later, their life would have been completely different because of the open-mindedness at all levels of football where they say, hey, we're actually going to make this guy work?
I would have loved to seen Steve Young in today's offense.
Oh,
wow. I think he had a brilliant career. But Steve Young was incredibly athletic. These dual threat quarterbacks, like even if you watch Patrick Mahomes, he's not running the ball necessarily, but he's keeping plays alive. And he's running in a system where he's like a point guard running an up-tempo offense. And I think the same thing could be said if you go down the line. Look what Russell Wilson's been able to do. And again, he's not a running quarterback necessarily, but he's running an offense that's able to take advantage of his athletic ability. Man, Steve Young, he was running more Bill Walsh, West Coast offense, and he did a great job. But I think Steve would have been at a whole different level if he played in today's game.
I'm going to do the bestsellers here because you obviously wrote a book. What books did you read to take sort of inspiration for this?
I think the books that I've always enjoyed are autobiographies by coaches. John Wooden had a great one. Vince Lombardi, Mike Krzyzewski, just different people that I've always admired and looked up to. I don't know if I used them as a way to help me write my own book. I tried to make mine unique to what we were trying to do. Those probably stand out. The autobiographies, because of my being a memoir, those are the ones that probably are the most similar to mine.
Are you watching any television, movies, any recs for the people right now? Summer watches?
Man, was it Bloodline?
Bloodlines?
Yeah, Bloodlines is one that we watch.
Now we're talking.
Ozark is one that we love. Yellowstone.
Yes, of course. You're not the first person to bring up Yellowstone on this show.
You guys, if you haven't started Yellowstone, go do Yellowstone. That's a slam dunk, man. You won't sleep for a couple of weeks. It's that good.
I get frustrated a little bit with the movie industry because when I was growing up, there was great movies all year. They would come out with another movie, and the actors like Morgan Freeman and Harrison Ford, and they're big time actors. And now I don't know. It's more now we got to wait for Netflix or wait to binge a series. I like the Marvel movies, and I like Star Wars, all the different movies that have come out of that. But I sometimes you just like to go to the movie and just have a great plot and a great story where you're trying to kind of guess what's going to happen next. And just seems like we've not had a lot of those kind of movies in recent years.
We have something called Club Kevin. It's whoever you think has been doing a great job the last week. Who is winning the week, Kirk?
I am a devout Cincinnati Reds fan. So
who's your favorite Reds player?
I'll give it to Joey Votto because he just got his 2000th hit the other night. And that was a huge deal, obviously, for him. Can I add a name? I'm going to say Bobby Bowden, who obviously passed at the age of 91. What an incredible, not just a great coach, But what a guy who touched so many lives. So definitely that should have been a name I thought of first. But
Absolutely.
Bobby Bowden.
Kirk Herbstreit, thank you so much for coming on Slow News Day.
Thanks for having me, bud.